Welcome everyone to the India's first public policy debate orientation. We will cover the orientation in coming 1 hour. And if you have any question, please use the chat. We will try to answer all the questions possible. And also we will share the schedule. So not just today, for the upcoming 3 to 4 days, we are here to resolve all your queries. So let me go and share my screen. So this is the first time that we are conducting, India's biggest public policy debate tournament. OGLI is known for debating. We run India's biggest debating tournament called as Ideal Indian Debating League. So we have teams from each and every state of India, and then we compete in a IPL kind of format, where first you get to be part of your state team, then the states compete with each other, and then ultimately you have the India's best team represent India at international level, whether going to Oxford, Harvard, which this, training by international adjudicators like Harish Natarajan, one of the world's best debaters, come and train you. And then we send them the best performing team to international, whether Canada, US, UK, across the globe. So we have sent the team, India's official team, to all these countries. So you also have the chance to perform well. You will get a chance to debate at GLs in upcoming September and the October GL Invitational. Coming for today, for the next 3 days, you will have your trainers.
Is it all right if I just quickly have a show of hands on how many of you have debated with OGLI before? Is that all right? We have 46 of us. A quick thumbs up will help. So a quick thumbs up, show of hands with folks who've debated with us earlier will help us temper the session. All right. So I can see the top layer. Kamal, please go ahead. Over to you. Thank you so much, folks.
Yeah. So we see few of you have debated with us, few of you have debated other tournaments, and many of you would have done the MUNs. So that's the reason we will train you further. So even if you're not debated prior, because this is a new format altogether. So anyway, you require some sort of training that we will provide in the next 3 days. These are the two trainers, incredible trainer. Afreen, you will get to know much more in today's orientation itself. And then Nitiksha likely will join, in the upcoming schedule in terms of training and all. In terms of the session, what we will cover, that what we want you to know by the end of the day today. That what's the schedule for the upcoming days, upcoming 1 week. Then the motion you would have already received through the mail, but also we will give you a bit more guideline regarding the motion. And as we mentioned, this is a different format, public forum, different from others. So you will have same motion and call as a resolution here across the tournament. So what you will do, how will you do the research, and everything will come. Structure of the public policy debate we will go through briefly today, but fundamentally will be covered across the upcoming three training schedule, 4, 5, 6, and then basic research tips that you will do. The schedule, most important part. So tomorrow onwards, the training will start 4th, 5th, 6th. In your case, you are the senior category. That means 9 to 12th. You will have 6:30 to 7:30. Same link that you have, joined today. Also, you are part of the WhatsApp group. If you're not, just ping on the hello number or the hello email ID. We'll share on the chat. If you have any queries related to other stuff after this session, do send over there. But your training gonna start from tomorrow, will go till 6th. The 4, 5, 6, you will have training, and we will share the agenda of day by day. Join each day because they're going to be more interactive, dynamic sessions. So you will do answer, and it will be very dedicated to the training on this format itself. Second, then you will have qualifiers matches. Each one of you will play 2 matches along with your partner. We will create the teams. 8, 9, 10th, we will do the qualifiers. Each one of you will play 2 matches. Basis that, we will select 8 debaters from your category and the junior categories as well. So you have 8 debaters from junior, 8 from seniors. We'll go to the IIT Delhi final day on 13th of August. In terms of the training schedule, as I mentioned, that 4th, 5th, 6th, you have the training each day by day. This is how the agenda look like. The first day going to be much more focused on the structure of the public forum debate itself. What does each and every speaker need to play? So you will look at the structure. You will look, there are multiple roles that you have to play along with your team member. So what you have to adhere to, what is your responsibility, then what research you will do, Then the second day going to be much more deeper penetration in terms of that how will you go case prep and all. Also, not just from your side, you have to understand that how adjudicator going to judge you. What are the subtleties of difference between, say, other formats versus this public forum. So what additionally you need to focus on to win the matches, tip and tricks, and there's going to be something called as Crossfire, which will you see now, but again will be covered much more in detail of the 5th. And the 6th, we will do a demo debate. So, once you get all the theories, then you will see how actually debate match follows, because we're going to follow a modified public forum. That's why recorded videos of other tournament will not help you. So be live here and do watch live as compared to watching recorded videos of other tournament, because it's going to be a bit modified format. With that, if you have any question, feel free to ask before I hand over to Afreen. So do we have questions? Hello, I haven't received the email. Okay, if you have not received the email, we'll check. But anyway, the broad agendas that was there in the mail is already being spoken over here. Also, you will get these recordings and the PDFs also.
I do want to make sure that they all do one thing for me. I mean, I saw that comment on the spam. I want you to make sure that you unspam it or put it on your inbox, because this is where all your other mails in terms of certificates, etc. will come. But from now, which is on 3rd of August till 13th of August, we are going to essentially use the WhatsApp group. So don't worry too much about an earlier email, but do look for it and do unspam it, please. Right? And Kamal, I want to discourage recording sharing. I do want to make sure everybody attends the sessions, because that's the beauty of it, the interaction of it. So
yeah,
try not to request for recordings, please. It just breeds the whole, Sorry, Eliza, can you please put yourself on mute? Okay, Kamal, back to you.
Okay, so I'm looking at this question. Will there be single motion across the tournament? Yes, like as the name suggests, is the policy debate, which means we will look at one particular part of the policy or one theme. In your case, going to be wildlife protection. So yes, it's going to be same across the tournament. You have public forum modified. For the finals, you have exact public forum. That's the only difference, but the motion going to remain, the resolution going to remain the same. According to the Ogly website, we can choose our team members. Look, when you register, ideally you should have put it your team member name. If you have not, we have created the teams by this point of time. So it's very difficult for us to entertain or change of requests in terms of team formation. And we will show you what the current teams look like. I will share, or we will share also that PDFs in your groups. So you will get to know who's your partner, especially if you have not selected or fill up the name of your partner, then we have created the partner for you.
I have a question. The chat's disabled for me, so can I just ask here?
Go ahead.
So for a particular motion, do we get to choose our stance? Are we for the motion? Are we against it?
No. So you will look. What you have received is the resolution, emotion. Now for the stance, will you go for the against? In the parliamentary or the public forum, you have to prepare both ways. Then you will get it. We'll share the schedule, and as part of the schedule, we will share that one match you may go for, and the next match you go against, or maybe both you can go for. So ideally, you should prepare both cases for and against, and as part of the schedule, we will share which stance will you go for.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Is there any other question? No, you can't debate individually, because as we mentioned that it's a public forum, which means as we will showcase the format with you, this is 2 versus 2. Can you put yourself on mute if you're not speaking? Yes, if you have already put your partner's name, then we should have make them your partner in the match. As we said that we will show you your team selection. We will share the PDFs where your team details will be shared, you and your team partner. Okay, if that's the case.
Excuse
me.
So I had actually put my partner's name, but unfortunately she won't be able to take part in this thing. So can I get someone else is my partner.
Yeah, so look, that's what I said. Like in some cases, you mention someone's name, but they have not registered. So what we have done, we have partnered you with someone else. That exercise we have already done. The team has done. You will get those details, and also on the group that you are, your team member will be there.
Okay, sir. So if the name
Now,
who I have mentioned is not registered, you will.
replace them. Yes, we will replace them with someone else.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and let's look at the questions. What are the questions here? So I already have a partner, but I'm not sure if I put his name during registration, then what I can do. Angad, that's going to be challenging if you have not put the name of your suitable partner that you were looking to have, because we have already created the team. So what I will suggest, that list that we will share, do check out with your partner. Look, ideally we have try to pair you with the same school, same grade, so you have a comfort with your team member. Otherwise, if you have any thing that you want to change even after that, do ping on hello email. But again, as I said, like we have already changed the team. In exception situations, we will try to help you, but seemingly will be very, very difficult for us. So it's not guaranteed that we will be able to modify your team. Okay, can you share the reading resources in the chat? We will share this PDF with you in the group, WhatsApp group. That's the rules of that WhatsApp group. With that, let me invite Afreen, our trainer for today. She has done a lot of training. She has learned a lot of debating tournaments as well as adjudication. Recently, she was part of the finals adjudication at the Doxy Bridge World School Debating Championship. So, Afreen.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction. Could we move to the senior slide, please? All right, thank you so much. Cool. So just like let me know. Okay, let's just have like a quick start with. Can you all like just raise your hand as to like whether you have already known the topic and whether you have started preparing for the topic once? Just do it like very quickly. We have 54 members in this particular Zoom chat. Let's understand how many of y'all know. It's just 10 people. That's kind of very disappointing, but let's just like understand what the topic is today. So you all know the theme is wildlife. If you're not on Instagram, or if your parents are on Instagram, just like check up on Instagram. We have also like we have to what the topic is, what are the tips for you to go ahead and like start researching. If you're like, oh my god, what is vermin, I don't know how that works, or if you're scared of a particular terminology, how to go about and how to channelize your research, you're supposed to go to the Instagram post and read a little bit on that. But let me just like tell you as to how you can go about
just
with the topic.
Just before you go ahead, Afreen, if I can just check how many of you have not subscribed to the Ogly Instagram. Just give me a show of hands who's not on the Ogly Instagram. And I'll tell you why I asked this question, Arya, Anvita. One is that because I'm assuming you all are 13 and above, I can ask you to be on Instagram. Secondly, is that this is the only tournament where we are using a lot of research and knowledge content on the Instagram channel as well. So Manas, Dhanya, Ashni, Anya, all of you who are not on the Ogly Instagram, please do go and subscribe, because we've posted a lot of research and skill-based content over there. Yeah. And please do let us know if there's any other reason why you can't be on it. For any other reason, that's perfectly fine.
My parents don't allow me to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I will keep that completely and respectfully in place. If that be the case, any which way the pages that Afreen ma'am will be sharing with you will have a little bit of relevant slides over here. Right? It's not the Ogly Future Academy account, Rihan. It is the Indian Debating League channel. It's the Instagram that is there over here on the tips link. So post the call, you can go and subscribe to it. You'll realize that since the beginning of August, and we are on 3rd today, right? Since the beginning or 31st of July, we've been posting only on this topic, because we were very keen to close the registrations, but there was so much of volume coming in. So I just want to make sure that you all please consciously do subscribe to that. It's hugely useful, at least for this debate preparation as well, unlike earlier tournaments, right? Yes, Asik, you had a question. Okay, no questions. I'm just pasting the link any which way. Afreen, please carry on clarification. So all of you should know the motion because we want to spend a little time on knowing the motion. Afreen, so over to you.
All right, so this is the topic: India should grant state or local government to declare species as vermin. Now, to begin with your research, you're supposed to at least have working knowledge on what the topic is. So try to have what exactly state government or local government would look like from each side. Try to know a basic knowledge about that, and then try to know what species are. What are we talking about in terms of species? What is vermin? How would you define it? So when you're going ahead and trying to define things like vermin, species, or all of that, the best possible way to go about that could be like using reading sources like that of biological websites or like journals per se. So you can always have the liberty to choose as many amount of research, like research sources, like websites, journals, books, YouTube, anything and everything for that matter. We are just giving you some examples so that you're like not just in a jungle without knowing anything as to where you're going. So you would have some amount of knowledge as to how to go about the research. So the basic idea of it is go to the Instagram, try to find out the post and try to understand. So if you're not on Instagram, we're anyways going to be sharing this PPT. So what you're supposed to do is you have to also take care that this particular topic or resolution uses the term India. So the wildlife or the theme, and you have to basically incorporate a lot of elements when you're making or you're researching per se. You are supposed to like see India as an actor and then go ahead and make, let's say, why India should do it or why India should not do it. So you are obviously aware of like there are two teams, one is pro, one is con. From side pro, you're supposed to tell why India should do it. That is the positive part of it. And then from side negative or side con, you're supposed to negate it and tell that no, the benefits of it are not that great, but the harms are outweighing the benefit to begin with. So you're supposed to do all of that research. But what one of the questions was like, are we supposed to choose what we can speak for? No, you're supposed to actually prepare for both the sides. So you're supposed to prepare two case files, one for the motion, one for against the motion, and then make sure that you are completely understanding what is the in and out of the entire motion, and you have like a basic knowledge of what the basic terminologies are being used in the topic. So these are the reading sources. You can all obviously go ahead and like click on these and try to find out what they're talking about. Try to find out basic like video resources. These are not exhaustive whatsoever. Try to find out as many sources as possible. The more sources you get, the more evidences, the more proof you have, the more weightage you have to win the debate. So that's basically what the understanding of the motion looks like. The PPT would be shared. If there is any question specifically to what the motion is and you're not able to understand what the motion is or the topic is, please let me know.
So good.
All
I
right.
think they're all clear about the topics. The point is that you are researching for both the sides of the motion. We can move forward. Afreen, you can just give them a glance of the Insta pages. Otherwise, I'm sure they can go and look it up themselves.
Yeah, just the glance, like what could you start with? What are vermins? All of that, like basically try to understand basic terminologies, then go ahead with what are the benefits, what are the harms, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, and why declaring of animals is vermin is important, not important, up to the side that you're choosing. Always try to like,
Kamal, I don't want you to spend a moment on why did we pick up this topic. I think there's been a recent act about this, right?
Yeah, so it's like a both ways. So though we want to, increase our wildlife diversity, that's a huge issues, and you will be, hearing and learning about uh, endangered species from your fifth grade onwards. But at the same time, there is a side effect to it, and that's called as vermin. They're gonna destroy other species. So how to think about it? How to balance that idea? And the
Super.
recently 2021, the government has some sort of amendment to the particular bill, and there was a huge issues across the country, especially by the wildlife experts around it. So we want to know your views. So how should the India go ahead in the future in terms of looking at these aspects as part of the Wildlife Protection Act?
Yeah. So Afreen, you can move faster on this group. Unless, sorry, Harshman, you have a question?
Yeah, are there any limitations in the sources that we can use?
I would be telling you when I'm going to be discussing on preparation and what sources you cannot use and what are the more credible sources that you can use and what can have more weightage when it comes to sources. So just wait on that. But I think Pranay has a very good question. So the motion is that the central government should give authority to the local or state government. So that's up to you for researching, because from side proposition, you're also supposed to tell what is the current scenario and what is the change that we're adapting. Okay. So you're supposed to tell why that change is important and what the benefits or the worth of that change. So that's up to you for research and tell whether it's actually in hands of central government at this point or not.
Yeah. And Afreen, when you please take an example, when you explain, take another motion. Okay. So
Yes,
yeah, bye.
Okay, so yeah, so like you can go ahead and like understand what vermins are and like what are the species. Is it monkeys? The picture shows monkeys, swan, and all of that. So just try to basically characterize what it actually looks like. So just try to understand it at the very get-go. I think that's pretty much it. Can we move to the next slide? Next slide again. Oh, I think you're supposed to show the teams to them. We haven't
So
done.
what I will do, I will show the teams once we go through the format,
Okay,
because
great.
they will have a lot of questions.
Okay, so now for the qualifiers format, we're going to use modified public forum format. It's not actually how the actual format looks like. We're trying for the purpose of the tournament, we're going to use this format for the qualifiers. Now what it basically looks like is there's going to be 2 speakers in each team. One team is pro and one team is con. Speaker 1, speaker 2. Just understand that to begin with. So just I want you to follow the numbers and the arrows that shows what is the flow of the entire public forum. So the first speaker starts, and the first speaker is going to be the pro speaker, who is going to be supporting the motion. Let's say let's take a example of, let's say there is a motion on should children be allowed to, let's say, should 15 years old kids be allowed to vote in a democracy, right? So proposition speaker 1 would go ahead, speak for 4 minutes and tell why it is important to have democracy and why a 15-year-old can also go ahead and probably vote. So you understand there is a change that has been brought about. So right, you're supposed to justify as to why that change is A, good to begin with, but B, why the change is much more adaptable and why the change is much more required than what is happening in the current scenario. So the first speaker would basically set the debate, try to tell you in 4 minutes as to listen, this is the argument, this is the benefit of the particular motion, and then this is my research material which supports the benefits. We would go into that later as to what every speaker does. So let's just understand the flow. First speaker goes ahead, speaks for 4 minutes, that is a constructive speech. Now, once the first pro speaker is done, the first con speaker would come and give a 4 minutes constructive speech on telling us to why there is disadvantages, why there are problems with the particular topic, why you shouldn't go ahead and do what the motion suggests, right? So 4 minutes each, one set is over. Now, once everyone, like the first speaker from both the sides are done with their positive speech, now there's going to be crossfire. Now, what does crossfire actually look like is basically one person being able to ask question to the other based on, let's say con speaker had a case or had an argument based on, listen, a 15-year-old is not capable of understanding who is the best politician because they probably don't understand how the society actually functions, right? Now, this first pro speaker has the ability to ask this question to the person, right? So in the crossfire, the crossfire is going to be 3 minutes. The pro speaker goes ahead, the first speaker goes ahead and asks this question. Listen, your second argument did not really make sense. Can you explain it to me again? And what were the reasonings for it? Now, the con speaker is going to answer that question. And once the question has been answered, the con speaker now gets to ask one question to the pro speaker, okay? Now, let's say the pro speaker had one evidence which was based on Wikipedia, okay? And this person says that, listen, on Wikipedia, it shows that democracy is something which needs to take care or cater to everyone, and therefore kids should be also part of it, right? Now, this con speaker can ask question based on that. Basically, everyone gets to ask everyone, as in the first speakers from both sides, are going to be able to ask and answer questions based on the speeches that they have given. So Crossfire is basically to clarify a lot of doubts and stuff of that sort. Okay, so you would be given 3 minutes.
Ma'am, but Wikipedia, isn't it like a unreliable source?
So exactly. So Wikipedia is an unreliable source, which means that when pro speaker had quoted Wikipedia, con speaker actually used that as a strategy to question them as to like, why did you quote Wikipedia? And then if the pro speaker does not have any other evidence of telling that, listen, I have other sources to prove why I'm right, I think judges are always going to be convinced by the con speaker that yes, that particular evidence or that particular resource wasn't necessarily a reliable one, and therefore I should probably vote for con. So these are small things which we are going to go into later as to what are the evidences and all of that. So Crossfire, 3 minutes, one person gets first question, the second person answers, the second person gets another question, the first person answers. And that would be back and forth. That would go back and forth for 3 minutes. So it can have as many number of questions as you can cater to in 3 minutes. Okay. All right. Now come to the second speaker from pro. Now the second speaker, if you see, has already listened to the case of the other speaker, right? So the pro speaker 2 has listened to con speaker 1. Now they can go ahead and prove as to why whatever con speaker 1 has told do not really have value, right? Let's say con speaker 1 told that kids don't really understand what society looks like, but pro speaker would be like, no, I think kids actually understand what society looks like when it's like a 15-year-old, and so on and so forth, and then go ahead and give evidence or resources. I'm just giving you a very layman topic example. That's not a topic that will be given to you. I'm just telling you how it could look like. Okay, so the rebuttal would basically do two things, and that's also for 4 minutes. Okay, so the rebuttal is going to be looking like you trying to strengthen whatever your first speaker has told, but also trying to re-strengthen and compare as to what are the benefits from your side. Whatever con speaker 1 has told did not really actually make sense, and all of that. So you try to rebut and refute to everything that con speaker 1 has actually told. All right, now you move to con speaker 2. Now con speaker 2 is also rebuttal. Now if you closely understand, con speaker 2 has listened to 2 speeches of the other side, that is pro speaker 1 and pro speaker 2. Now con speaker 2 can go ahead and rebut to both the speeches based on, like, let's say the rebuttal that pro speaker 2 gave did not make sense, and I'm going to give a counter rebuttal to the rebuttal that was being given by pro speaker 2. So basically you try to refute whatever pro speaker 1 and pro speaker 2 actually went ahead and told you. Again, you have 4 minutes as con speaker 2. Now since the con speaker the second rebuttal speech has actually done, you would go to the same kind of crossfire, like the pro speaker 2 would ask one question, the con speaker 2 would reply, the con speaker 2 would ask another question, the pro speaker 2 would reply. That's how the other crossfire would reply. Now the interesting part comes where now the judge is like, listen, pro speaker 1 and pro speaker 2 did really good job. Con speaker 1 and con speaker 2 also did a very good job. Who should I vote for? Who should win the debate? Now finals focus basically tries to convince that, listen, as a judge, you should be voting for us and we should win the debate because these are the reasons why we are better than the other team, right? So who actually goes ahead and gives the final focus? It can be either speaker 1 or speaker 2. Now you can go ahead and try to have a conversation with your speakers, like the teammate. You can decide whoever is more comfortable. Let's say speaker 1 says that, listen, I think I know better weighing and I can convince the judge better as to who should win. Then speaker 1 can go. Otherwise, speaker 2 can say that, listen, I think I can convince the judge better and therefore I should go. Final focus is basically like a summary or like a weighing as to how that would look like. So final focus is for 2 minutes. Now, just to recap, constructive speeches and rebuttal speeches are for 4 minutes. Crossfires are for 3 minutes, and final focus is for 2 minutes. If you all have any question based on this, we can entertain that.
Hi, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So, is crossfire right after each constructive speech, or is it after like one set of speech?
Yeah, so it's going to be after one set of speech. So after one set of constructive speech is over, there's going to be one crossfire. And then after one set of rebuttal speech is over, there's going to be one crossfire.
And so like the pro speaker 1 will be asked questions by the con speaker, or is it like both ask each other?
So the set that is over is only going to be able to participate in that particular question. So since for set 1, deals with pro speaker 1 and con speaker 1. The crossfire first is going to only deal with pro speaker 1 and con speaker 1. Similarly with the second set.
Okay, thank you.
Crossfire round is when you can ask questions and answer questions based on the speeches that has been given, and we would deal more into it in the training sessions for sure.
Hi, I had a question. So, how many questions can we ask in the crossfire round?
Okay, that depends again on how many questions you can ask and answer in 3 minutes, based like considering it's back and forth. So let's say I ask a question which is for 15 seconds, because I would take time to ask question as well, and the con speaker would take, let's say, 30 seconds to answer that question. Then the con speaker would take another question. So it basically and is entirely dependent on what is the kind of question that you're asking, how much time you're taking to answer that question. So collectively, all of these are going to be in 3 minutes. So you can either ask 5 questions, but that always going to be based on whether your answers are long or short and all of that.
All right.
Hi, the format of the questions, does it have to be a statement or like a question?
It can be anything. So you can strategically use anything and everything to ask a question. It can either be, listen, can you like show me that particular source, or where did you get that source from? Or it can either be like, can you explain that first point? What was your first point? Or third point, what was that? It can be anything and everything, but in a civil manner. Don't have to be rude or don't have to dominate people. Yes, Vanshika.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Please.
That's all right. Is there a specific set of time for which we'll get time to prepare our final focus speech?
Yes, so that's a very good question. So you have 2 types of preparation rounds, and I'll go into that question in the preparation round wala slide. But as of now, this is what it looks like, and you do get some time to prepare for final focus. Vanshika, your question would be answered there.
Hi, sorry, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is the crossfire going to be moderated or unmoderated?
Yes, the
sorry.
Okay, so how it basically works is that judges are going to make sure that you're not using, like, you're not dominating the crossfire and you're not being rude. Other than that, judges are not going to be moderating in terms of, listen, you are going to speak now, or you are going to speak now and you're going to answer. Generally, kids like you are very smart. They know when to speak and when to answer. So you're going to be like self-moderating yourself. So you know for a fact that the first question is going to be given to pro speaker. So don't be like, listen, I have the first question as con speaker 1. If in case pro speaker does not have a question, then you obviously can go ahead and ask one question. So it's basically self-moderated. You're matured enough to moderate yourself. You know that how that basically works. Pro speaker 1, ask question, reply, question, reply, question, reply. That's how it works.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So after the constructive speech, the first constructive speech that both parties give, after that, do we have time for the crossfire, like to structure questions and everything?
So what you're supposed to do is so there are 2 ways how you can deal with that. Either you can utilize your prep time, and I'll go back to that later as to how you have time. But the best strategy to use is basically, as a pro speaker 1, when the con speaker 1 is actually speaking, you can take notes and then like write questions during the 4 minutes. So you already have that amount of time to actually write and then ask questions. So you don't necessarily need like another set of like time to just write the questions to begin with. So con speaker 1 also gets the time to like write those questions when pro speaker 1 is actually like speaking. So you have that 4 minutes ka leeway to understand what can be the question and how you can like manipulate that.
Okay, I have a doubt. Can we relate crossfire questions to POIs in WSDC and British parliamentary formats?
For sure you can. The only difference that in POI you can deny it, or like you can choose to just ignore it and go like further. But then in crossfire, you can just say that I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, cool.
In the crossfire, can we only ask questions, or are we also allowed to negate some of their points?
So I think the better strategy would be asking questions so that you can clarify, or asking question in a way that they themselves contradict them. So like that's how the strategy works. But I think the better way to like refute would be like during the rebuttal speeches rather than the crossfires.
All right. Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
I didn't get the crossfire thing. Can you please explain it again?
Okay, so crossfire basically means cross, and then fire, that basically means people are going to be able to ask question to each other. So cross basically means that one person can ask other person another question. So when first constructive speech is done, can you see the first and second mark? So once the first and second is done, they are going to ask each other questions. So one is going to ask question to two, and two is going to respond that question. And then two is again going to ask another question based on whatever one has spoken. Okay. So crossfire is basically the time that you're given to ask question and reply to those questions, and use that to your leeway to challenge the case that has been made, get more clarity on the case that has been made, or to try to question sources and all of that. So you can also use your own knowledge about a particular argument and say that, listen, that what you have said in that particular context or whatever contention that you ran, I think that's probably wrong because the reasoning to it is better when I gave it, and all of that. So you basically use it as a strategy to try to understand and try to unwrap the case that your opposition has.
Right, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Can we just move into the next slide now? Kamal? Kamal sir, are you there?
We move to second slide.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes. So is the crossfire round after the constructive speeches? The crossfire round is after constructive speeches and after rebuttal speeches. There's two set of crossfire rounds. All right. Now I think this right now is going to be your preparation time, which means you're supposed to research, you're supposed to know the topic, you're supposed to have basic working knowledge of the topic. So how would you go ahead and research what you should do, what you shouldn't do? Let's start with what you should do. Have a common document for your for all the resources of the research. Now, I think like most of you all actually know how Google Docs work, and I think using that would be the best possible option. But you can always go ahead and like use the files if you're together physically, or if you're together in terms of like MS Word. All of that could work. The basic idea behind that is basically we want both of you to work hand in hand. We want both of you as teammates to work in a team. Public forum is not an individual event where you're actually evaluated just based on your own particular performance. It's going to be how well you know the arguments in general. So the second speaker could be asked question in the crossfire which was being told by the first speaker. Now you can't be like, oh, that does not come under my jurisdiction, that I don't know what the question is. So just try to have the basic knowledge on that and try to have a common document. So let's say today you're starting the research, you'll write what is the meaning of vermins and how that basically works. And you think that, oh, this can probably like this particular article can probably help us with making case or making arguments from pro side. So you can have that copied in particular pro file, and then you have a con file. So I wanted to let you all know that you're not supposed to choose your side. That basically means you are supposed to research for both pro and con. So I have like two case files ready in terms of you trying to copy whatever relevant things that you get to support a particular argument, and then copy paste it with the relevant source in that particular document. So try to have that particular knowledge and particular access to each other so that you both are on the same page. You don't know, it shouldn't be like, I don't know the argument that he's running or she's running, I would just want to go ahead and run my own argument. That's not how it works. Secondly, research from credible sites only. That's when I said that Wikipedia is not a credible site. It can be edited and so on and so forth. Just try to have credible sites. So like based on this topic only, I think you can have like a lot of biological journals which would tell you what species actually is. So a lot of authors actually go ahead and like tell or biologists go ahead and tell what vermins are, and you can use their definitions. They're always very credible sources. You can use biological journals to like if you want to, or you can use like newspaper articles to show the statistics as to like how vermins have been like very problematic for a lot of states and stuff like that. So you can use credible sites, and like you can use sites which are basically which actually have an author name. you would find a couple of sites which do not have author name, which won't tell you who exactly has written that particular article. So just make sure that that is not there, because although these articles aren't oftentimes that credible, and you can't really rely on what like statistics or facts that they're actually telling. So try to have credible sites only. Third is like cross-check your evidence from other sources too, so as to be 100% sure. Let's say if you have this idea that a particular statistic shows that vermins have killed, let's say vermins are being able to destroy 10,000 acres of land in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, if that is the case and you see the figure is 10,000, now what would you do? Would you be relying only on that particular source, or would you go ahead and like try to find another article which says the exact same thing? So when it comes to numbers and statistics, try to have different, or like at least 2 to 3 sites which say the exact same thing, because I've seen several sites where like one site says that listen, 10 people are dying or 10 people were dead in a particular incident, the other sites would show 15 people, and that's when you know that there is some problem with the credibility and the source that you're using. So always try to like have at least 2 to 3 sites which are actually saying the same thing in terms of facts and figures. Okay. Next is advisable to use before summary and final figure speech. So prep time is basically for 2 to 3 minutes, and we would tell you how much it is once the tournament is closer. So prep time is basically the time that, let's assume that the prep time is 2 minutes. Okay, so you would be getting that time not between the speeches. It's going to be after you're done with your speech, before the crossfire. It's not going to be any time between like something is being done. So let's say you think that there is something which you actually want to work on and you want to tell your teammate before his or her rebuttal or their rebuttal speech. Okay, so you call, or you can get on call with your teammate and you can tell them that listen, you need to focus on this particular argument, and that's how you do. Now that's where your prep time begins during the during the debate. So the prep time is for 2 minutes, which means that you have to tell the judge that we are using the prep time, and the judge can start the clock. So it can be used in different intervals, different times, and by different speakers. So obviously try to have a coordination between the teammate as to when you want to divide that prep time. So let's say speaker 1 use the prep time before the crossfire, let's say 30 seconds. So the prep time that is left to your, or which is remaining, is 1 minute 30 seconds for your team. All right, so the 1 minute 30 seconds can be probably used before final focus for you to like collect your thoughts, write your speech or something of that sort. So just make sure that the prep time collectively to a particular team is only for 2 minutes. Now, what are the don'ts that you're supposed to like focus on? Do not have different or uncoordinated research with your partner. Do not be like, this is my argument 1 and 2 is yours, argument 2 and 3 and 4 is mine, and that's how we are going to research it. That's not how it works. Try to have one particular, like just be on the same page. Try to understand what the argument or reasonings of a particular argument is actually. Now, do not utilize prep time without informing the judge. As I said, do not do that. Third is do not have entirety of the prep time. I think I already told you that if speaker 1 takes the entirety of 2 minutes, but that basically looks like you're not actually like coordinating with your teammate, and you're not having that amount of teamwork that has to be there. So just don't use entirety of the prep time by one speaker, and do not exceed the time limit, and do not be like secret prepping without informing the judge. That's not a good practice. That's it for preparation. Arya, do you have any question?
Yeah. Is there like a fixed time for the prep time for cross question?
Crossfire?
Yeah, crossfire.
No, there's no fixed prep time. So it's always going to be like 2 minutes of prep time together in like during the debate. So you can either utilize that prep time before that crossfire. So if you're using half, like that's up to your discretion again. So if you want to use 2 minutes entirety by speaker 1 before crossfire 1, your choice. If speaker 2 is using that prep time, their choice. But if you want to divide it, you can divide it as and how you want to, with 45 seconds, 1 minute, anything based on your preference.
Right, thank you.
What is the total prep time allotted to a team?
To a team is 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I had a question. In terms of sources, is it necessary to cite the sources you're using at all times?
Yes, yes. So I think like how that would basically work is how case files are prepared, and that would be discussed in the second training session. But yes, the short answer is you're supposed to quote the sources. How you would quote the sources is quoting the author name along with the year that the article was being written. Let's say the article was about wildlife protection, and the article was written by Afreen Khan in 2021. So how you would quote that article is Afreen 21 states that. So that's how you quote articles, and I'll teach you that all of that and train you all about it in the training session. That is the second training session on case file, so don't worry about that.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are we supposed to cite our sources like in a document and then give it to you, like, or and also do we have to follow a particular format like a bibliography?
Yes, there is a format. So there is a format of like, so you're not supposed to anytime give it to us or the tournament per se, but you're always supposed to document it for your own benefit, because there's something called as evidence card sharing. Now, we would again go back to that when training sessions come, because a lot of times, as I said, people ask the credibility of the source. So like oftentimes, like, and that's a bad practice when you quote the articles which do not exist. So how to like cater to that, or how to tackle to that is basically you ask, okay, this particular argument and this particular source that you were talking about, let's say Hirschman 39 or no, Hirschman 19 actually said this. Okay, now if that is not an article that has been written, the team would not be able to prove.
Hi, Afreen, Kamal.
Yeah, I'm just, I guess, Afrin
Okay, I'm
there?
back. I'm really sorry. Yes.
Okay, no issue, no issue. Okay.
Okay, were you able to understand my answer for your question, Harshman, I guess?
Yeah, I understood. Thank you.
Okay, great. I think we can move on to the next slide then.
Ma'am, just to confirm, the sources that we are citing are going to be checked afterwards?
It's only going to be checked if teams point that out, but nobody is going to ask you otherwise.
Like, yeah, if we are, say, making up sources, then I'm guessing
Yes.
they are going to be checked.
They are going to be that again, that based on how smart your opponents are. If your opponents got that, listen, that particular source is not reliable, they can ask you during crossfire. And then you have to show it. And then if you don't show it, the judges would be like, oh, that's probably something which they made up. And that's when
Show
you
it
lose.
as in?
Huh?
How do we show it? Are we going to have to open an article, a link to that?
So there's a format. So there's the format. I'll just generally tell you how the format works. It's like the author name, comma, the name of the article, comma, the name of the site, comma, the entire link of that article. So you're supposed to have it documented in one place so that you can like right away copy paste and send it in the chat box or anywhere which the judge would like.
All right, ma'am. Thank you.
Afreen, maybe you can mention this on the chat box, the format that you mentioned, but we
Thank
just find it on the deck before we circulate it.
No, that's like a different training and evidence training from case file training from second session. Okay. So we would, yes, tell them. The qualifiers are obviously going to be all, like online.
Are the timings confirmed for the debates, like for the qualified debates?
You will. So currently the teams are being formed. You will get the PDFs in your respective groups. I will show you also here. For the schedule, you will receive in a day or so. That what
Okay, thank you.
exact time that you have to join your matches.
Okay, I think I already mentioned what credible sources are. Credible sources are going to be based on whether a particular article has the name of author, whether they have things like when the article was written. A couple of articles I can give you examples is like Britannica, Encyclopedia. It can be I think iBlock Reader is also a good source. But then generally, like a lot of newspaper articles are very helpful. And you know what are the newspapers. So use newspaper articles, statistics by Indian government or any other government or any governmental platform, or you can probably also use statistics from different institutions as well. There is no MLA or APA Chicago format per se. There is, I think this format follows similar to Blue Book Edition 20th format. So you don't also need to worry about that. If we're going to tell you what the format looks like, you can always understand that. But the format actually has the details about authors as well. So I don't think any of these formats actually follow that. So are there any other questions?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hmm.
How many qualifying rounds are we going to have?
There are going to be 2 qualifying rounds.
For each team?
Yes.
Harjas, look, this is not ideal. So it's not like state-wise. So you have your teams, you will be playing against other teams. And basis your absolute scores and number of matches that you win, you go to your final day. Yeah, so for the teams, Tanishi, look, if you have fill up the form and put your team partner's name over there, so you will be paired with them. And while talking, I'm just share. Give me a second. So this is how the teams are being for the senior category. So as in the form, we have asked you guys to fill up a partner name. If you have, that's great. Ideally, we should have paired you up together. Let's see, for example, the case of so your name, Tanishi, was so this is Heritage 2, Tanishi Dutt. That means while you're filling up the form, you partnered your name, Safety, so you are being paired together with Safety. If you have not given your partner, we would have dynamically paired you with student from your school, your grade. And how will you talk to your partner? In the WhatsApp group, we'll share this PDF. Once you figure out that my partner is XX, I will just ask on the group, do my introduction, and I ask that, say, Aishani, please talk to me. And, from there, you can have a one-on-one conversation with your partners. And there's going to be team match public forum. So your performance is equal into team performance. So do coordinate with them. Yeah, Anushka, please go ahead. You have a question. Yeah, Anushka, please go ahead.
Yeah, so this PDF will be shared on the group by today, right?
Yes, just after this call, we will share.
Or
Manas Mutneja, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, after the qualifier rounds, will the whole team be qualified to the next level?
Yes, it's going to be team.
It's going to be whole
team. Yeah, it's not going to be individual performance, it's going to be team.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, could you please share the doc on WhatsApp? The
Yes, we
team
will
doc.
share. We will share. Athreya Sunil. So question is, will the rubric will be shared? Yes, we will give you a perspective that for this public forum, I guess in the second masterclass, our free mem will mention that how to convince our adjudicator or what are the attributes that the adjudicator will look upon. So there will be a particular session in the masterclass itself. Yeah. Vanishka Agarwal, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, in my case, there's this girl Parithi who was previously participating, but I was replaced. And me and Avni, my teammate from the Emerald Heights, we want to be together. So there just needs to be a name replacement in the PDF.
Sure. There are many instances where what happens that you initially recommended someone's name and for whatever reason they have not registered or they have given someone else's recommendation. In those cases, we have to dynamically pair the teams. But look, the team has already been formed, but if you have any exceptions, at least mention to us. And if you're able to resolve that your partners don't any issues, so do let us know. I'm just sharing our mail. Just give me a second. hello@ogly. AI. So this is the hello, and then you have the 046579. Yeah, you just inform the team about your concern over here and give us a day. We'll try to resolve it by tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Any
Thank
other
you.
question? Yeah. Vanchika, you have a question? Okay, it's over. I think you don't have any question. So in that case, please join tomorrow at your dedicated time, which is 6:30 to 7:30 on the same link. Otherwise, you have the WhatsApp group. Feel free to ask questions over there. Yes, Reet.
Sir, will you be sharing the team members list again?
PDFs, yes, we will be sharing the group.
All
Cool. So I don't think any question more over here. And with that, we say best of luck to all of you. Yeah, no issue, Vanchika. You just mentioned the team we will replace. So if it's a genuine concern, we will try to solve it as soon as possible. So no issue on that front. We're there to help you guys. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you, Afreen ma'am. And with that, we'll meet you guys tomorrow at 6:30 on the same link. Okay.